Welcome everyone to 1 Million Cups Daytona Beach. My name is Chris Steffen. I'm one of the volunteer organizers, and I'm joined. Hello, Rudy. How are you? And I'm joined by a bunch of other volunteer organizers. Guys and girls, please raise your hands. A round of applause, please, for the organizers. So we work on your behalf to bring in great speakers to inspire you, to motivate you, to pursue you, to encourage you to pursue entrepreneurship and to follow your dreams. For those of you that don't know, 1 Million Cups is a product of the Kauffman Foundation out of Kansas City, Missouri. And right now, in about, kind of varies between, last time I looked it was 183, and then the time before was 177. So somewhere in that range, there's a ton of communities across the country where there are 1 Million Cups meetups taking place. So we're part of something bigger out of Kansas City. So glad you guys are joining us this morning. How many first-timers here this morning? Okay, round of applause for the first time. So this morning, the way it works is we have a guest speaker, and then we'll do ruh-roh. Okay, this one's dead. No, it already died again. So we have a guest speaker, and then we'll follow that up with Q&A, and then we'll do some announcements. So today we have, and I'm going to look to make sure I got the pronunciation correct, Ron Wysocarski. Is that right? With Wyse team, Wyse Home Team Realty. Great guy. He's been here for, I don't know, he's been a regular for a little over a year. Lots of energy, great speaker. Very excited to have him. Please help me welcome Ron to the stage.
Good morning. I'm going to walk back and forth a little bit and carry this thing around. A couple of things I promised to do today is one is to keep on time. See, there's a timer, so you can all help you with that. Other thing is to kind of show you what it looks like to be in our world for just a little bit today, and I'll take you through a little bit of a journey and save enough time for questions. And if I've learned anything about these presentations, possibly a little bit less of me and more of you for questions that are important are going to be really helpful for you. So today, I'm just going to be serial speaking to you about a couple of things that have happened in my world. And I want to start out with something that you might have seen.
Homes are selling fast. Who can ensure you'll get the most money for yours? I'm Barbara Corcoran, and I've managed agents who have sold homes for thousands of dollars over list price. The key is to hire the agent with a smart, aggressive marketing plan. In Daytona Beach, Ron Wysocarski's innovative marketing exposes your home to more buyers, which creates more demand for your home. If we can't sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to, Ron will buy it. Go to ronsellsthebeach.com and get top dollar for your home. When homes are selling.
So that's Corcoran. You've probably seen her on Shark Tank, and I've been very fortunate to meet several of the sharks across the country at different events. Now, what you see is Barbara Corcoran, myself, and maybe it's TV or possibly on one of the radio stations nearby, being recommended for the way that we conduct our business and ourselves, and it's pretty exciting. You may have also seen a show on HGTV. Anybody ever seen Beachfront Bargain Hunt? Okay, so I was the first local agent to have a TV show on HGTV as well. So that's what the public sees. And it's kind of interesting how we got there. Currently, my wife Jess is here today, and we're owners of 3 businesses. And they're interrelated. And again, when I put the screen shot up here, what I quickly noticed was it looks kind of cool. And I say that humbly because this looks organized, it looks easy. We help people sell houses. We were frustrated with our ability to close the sales in a way that people give us 5-star reviews. We were told that we couldn't possibly close anytime, any place, treating every client as if they're our only client. So we created a business to actually do that so we get the best possible customer experience. And then along the way, with so many of our clients that bought investment properties, they were looking for a one-stop solution for an investment property, the management of those properties. So we created that business. So now let's step out of the ego portion right now, because that all looks really good, and that's what the public sees. In a minute I'm going to tell you what I really see, but to give you an idea of my humble beginnings, in first grade I was the guy that sold pencils in the class. I didn't intend on selling pencils. And most things we do in life are almost unintentional if you're an entrepreneur. You see, what I really want to do was have a pencil that said New York on it, because there was 2 pencil machines outside the principal's office, and I went down there with my nickel, well, 2 nickels, and the other pencil box had presidents. So I wanted New York because that's where I lived, and I wanted George Washington. And I put my 5 cents in each one, and I didn't get it. So a few days later, I tried again, and I didn't get it, and I quickly realized it was going to be pretty expensive to get these pencils. So I did what any young entrepreneur would do. I says, "Where are you from?" And somebody happened to say, and I think it was Tennessee. Like, I happen to have a Tennessee pencil. Would you like to trade for New York? They're like, "No." And I said, "But would you like it?" I said, "Sure." They're like, "Well, what do we trade for?" I says, "Well, do you have a dime?" I said, "Yes." Went down, bought 2 more pencils. Well, fast forward, I had a lot of pencils in a lot of states. And eventually I got to New York, and eventually I got to George Washington. I also got my first trip to the principal's office for reporting the market on pencils. My machines were now empty. That business was shut down in a New York minute, so I moved on to my next business, which is collecting baseball cards and football cards. And I love sports, and I was passionate. I wanted all these cool cards. And we would trade them. You know, I liked the Buffalo Bills. I wanted those cards. Coins were kind of a cool thing too, because I'm old and born in 1964. And every other kid in my class was born in 1965. So I would trade dimes and quarters and half dollars for the year I was born. It just so happened that was the last year of silver coins, so later in life those things actually appreciated in value. And I think any entrepreneur would tell you there's different stages in their lives where they did something almost unintentionally that maybe worked out down the road, whether it was through financial success or maybe the school of hard knocks, or some of the things that you did were, I'll say, a great idea at the time, but less than smart once you actually did it. There's a number of things, so I'm not going to tell you everything that I did on here, but I will tell you that I did buy my first property when I was 21 years old, not to escape my family's house, but I just didn't want to pay rent. I bought a house for $20,000. I had no money at the time. Did one of those no money down deals and FHA and got somebody to pay my closing costs. It was in the absolute worst neighborhood in Rochester, New York. And I learned a lot about putting locks on doors and security measures and insurance and things like that. Wanted to buy the house across the street, and I really didn't want it. The guy across the street kept saying, "You should buy my house, you should buy my house." I says, "Well, great." I says, "You have to pay all the closing costs?" And he says, "Not a problem." I says, "And you have to give me the down payment money too." He's like, "Well, what do you mean?" I says, "You're going to give me like $5,000 I'm going to put in my bank account, and I'll go get a loan, and then we'll do that." So I actually had the guy give me the money for the down payment and pay the closing costs, and that's how I bought the second house. We ended up a little bit short, but the snowball business came in. Now think about opportunity. You know, when you're young and dumb, which probably I still am today, you get these great ideas, harebrained ideas, and harebrained ideas. You eventually lose your hair because of these harebrained ideas, but I had this opportunity with a high school friend of mine after we graduated to open up a snowplow business. So we had 70 contracts ready to go. So I come home and say to my parents, "Hey, I just bought a snowplow business." And my dad's like, "Great. You know, first the house thing and now this." And he says, "Can I ask you a question?" I was like, "Sure." He says, "How do you plan on plowing the snow?" I said, "I don't know, but we got this business, we'll figure it out." And he says, "Okay, do you have a truck?" "No. It's October, it's about to snow." He goes, "Okay, have you ever plowed snow ever?" "No." "Okay, so I went out and got the truck. I figured I was halfway there, right?" I gotta tell you something. Where do you practice plowing snow? See, you don't. So I'm bartending, which is what I did at the time. And you know, you get out of work 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and of course, you have to make sure that if it's a night when it's snowing, that you're not enjoying life. So my very first time plowing snow was 4 o'clock in the morning. It's pitch black out. I realize I don't have the light on the top that you're supposed to have to let people know that you're plowing snow and doing things. So just picture this. You're driving a really big truck up there. You're going to drop the blade really close to the garage door, hope you don't hit it, and then you've got all the snow. You got to figure out where to put it. Safe to say, if you've ever started a business with a great idea and didn't have a plan, think of the snowplow story, because it was a really good idea that turned really bad really fast. I was lucky enough to survive that. We made some money and we put it in the investment properties, and we actually got the investment properties renovated to rent them out. there's other things that happened in my life, and I can tell you that I opened up a sports bar before there was such a thing. 1988, I'd been bartending for a couple of years, and I had this bright idea that I should just open up a bar, because apparently when you're 22, you know everything.
Right.
So I went out there and I looked at a bunch of bars, and again, familiar story, no money in the bank. Found a way to buy this bar. There was 3 competing entries. I apparently had the best business plan, or maybe I was just offering the most rent. Whatever it took, I got in there and went to apply for a liquor license, and I did all of that. Again, no money. So I met a vendor who did all the video games. He gave me the money for the liquor license, and then when it came time to buy the actual product, I went to each one and told them, look, I don't have any money right now. I have a lot of one-time expenses, but in 30 days, I'll pay you back. I got on the real estate credit program, which is through the state, and I basically no money down a lot of bar. Now, who in the right mind thinks New York State had a good idea giving a 22-year-old guy a liquor license? I'm here to tell you it was a bad idea. Everybody told me it was about 6 months you'd be in and out of this business, and ultimately we proved them wrong. We did it for 12 years. And just to make it a little higher degree of difficulty, I did it an hour away from where I lived to a place I'd never been before. I didn't know a single person, completely unaware of the market. See, now we know to actually look into those things, but back then, again, it was just a good idea. So, awesome. All right. Along the way, we figured out people in restaurants, they like beer and they like chicken wings. And of course, in this restaurant that I had, understand we had no equipment. I'd never cooked in a restaurant in a day of my life and didn't know a single recipe. You know, life intervenes. We happened to be at a place where at the Anchor Bar in Buffalo where chicken wings were invented, and we happened to find a disgruntled cook, and apparently for a small amount of money, you could get the chicken wing recipe. At least that night we could, so we got that too. And then we just, you know, R&D, that's called rip off and duplicate. We had chicken wings. 6 months, a year into business, well, a month into business, we actually burnt the kitchen down and we got shut down by the Board of Health. Again, not the best idea, but it was fun. We were on a resort lake, and there were boats out there, and a big deck, and music, and all these innovative things that you can do to run a business, and to bring people in and attract people that really just want to be a part of what you were doing. We quickly got involved in radio stations and doing club nights and all the fun things that you would do. Little did I know that those things were working in the sports bar business, which again in 1988 was non-existent. There was no such thing. I mean, picture a little TV with about that size, 13 inches in the corner, black and white parameters. That's what everybody had. I'm the guy with 4 huge satellite dishes and 30 TVs in this place. I thought it was a little crazy. Once we got the radio stations in, the place really got cranked up, and then we got it really big. It was really fun. I didn't know that back in 1988 that I'd actually be using the radio 30 years later in a much better level, in a much better way. But the business that you start early in your business career, they're going to teach you some lessons, and they say that success leaves clues. It just so happened that I didn't realize what I learned in 1988 through 1999 was going to help me 20 years later in the real estate business. But we had an experiential credit. We were familiar with it, so it was okay to do it. Pizza came along, and you guessed it. We had a little room in the back area of the kitchen. I went out and bought a pizza oven. Put out a pizza menu. I'd made a pizza before. Hand toss, throw it up in the air. We learned how to do that. We got good at that fast. There's probably a common thread to what we do is we have an idea, we hatch it, and then we just kind of figure it out. The commissioner's office is one of the most fun businesses I ran. First of all, it's a cool name because when somebody calls you up and you say, commissioner's office, you kind of freak out. It was a baseball card shop. I was the commissioner of sports. The inventory for the store was all those baseball cards I collected as a kid. I had a daughter on the way, needed a little extra money in a separate business, and I put really just an office to run my business out of to do all the ordering for the restaurant. Since we were a sports bar next door, all my vendors would come in, they'd want to get really good orders, they would find something from their favorite team and they would buy it. So they'd actually come in and buy stuff and then take an order. It was kind of a neat thing. It just kind of sat there and accumulated and accumulated and accumulated. I actually ran a business on a thing called the Sportsnet, which back in 1992 was in DOS, it was on the internet. So before there was ever an eBay, I was actually selling online. I never took a penny out of the business. I just said it was my rainy day fund. And fast forward to 1995, I decided I was going to buy another building for the restaurant, and I needed to come up with about $30,000 really fast. In 11 days, I liquidated $30,000 from my store of my childhood baseball cards. And that's how I bought that building. You never know what you're doing, how it's going to project 5, 10, and 15 years out until you get there. So we've been fortunate in a lot of ways. That was Lookout Uptown. From there, we added a diner. We added the sweet shop, this ice cream shop. Let me tell you, that had to be the stupidest thing I ever did in my life. We had the restaurant, the diner, the pizza shop. We had the sports card shop. So right in between it, we had this gap. It was the only building we didn't own, business owned in the plaza. So I put an ice cream shop in there. I assure you, we ate more than we ever sold. We lost our shirt on that business, but you can't lose too much over 6 months. I just bailed on that, and it was awful. So not everything works out. If you fast forward, there's a couple series of events that I'll tell you about in a moment. My third and last sports bar was the Lookout South Pool. That was the farthest south I was going to go. And we talk about penguins, and maybe those you remember the Bud Ice commercials with the penguin. If you remember, we created a whole theme bar around the South Pole, named all black and white. It was a lot of fun. It was a tough time in my life, and that one lasted about 2 years. Eventually, I sold CDs, and I did it on eBay, and that wasn't because I wanted to, it was because I had to. So I wanted to walk you through, again, from what you've seen so far, like, wow, what a charmed life, how good it really was. And that's what the public sees. So I'll take a moment or 10 minutes or so of my time today to be vulnerable right now. You see, most entrepreneurs are not succeeding right away. And it takes a long time, and it doesn't always work out. And life happens. Bad things can happen to good people. You see, the whole reason that I got in the bar business is because I quit college in 1985. Signed up, I was an honor student. I was an engineering student. I wanted to work at NASA. And I had all those stripes that do it in college offers across the country, but it's interesting coming full circle. They're talking today about ending NAFTA. Well, it started back then. Both my parents lost their jobs. So I had to go to work while I was going to college. Of course, in our family, you didn't want to cry about it, you just did it. So I attempted to go work full-time, 2 jobs, and go to college. It did not work out, so I quit. My opportunity was to go out there, get a bunch of jobs, and save up money to go back to college. What I ended up doing with my college money, again, much to my parents' chagrin, I saved up money to go back to college. I bought a bar instead. Parents are not impressed. But the bar worked out pretty good. And I met someone along the way, and of course, first marriages don't work out, but we learn things. But I got a wonderful daughter out of it in 1992, and that was a good thing. Unfortunately, the separation occurred in 1996, and I spent most of my time fighting for custody to actually just be able to see my daughter. And most of my money went out the window, not for bad things, but for good things, and I was okay with that. There comes a point in time in your life, would you trade everything to be with your kid? And I think I would hope most people would say yes. That was a decision that I made easily. In 1997, there was a major car accident. I was driving home from my bar, stone cold sober, and got hit by a drunk driver. T-boned my car, rolled me down a hill, ended up in this embankment upside down. I had my seatbelt on, and I went through the windshield. Think about that now. I remember as I was coming to, the paramedic said, holy, bunch of swear words, this guy's alive. And I got taken to the hospital. Massive head injuries, and was out of work for 6 months. You kind of know what that does to your business. So somehow I decided to open up a third bar during this time because I wasn't all there. But I eventually recovered. It was really about being close to my daughter, and I needed a place to live. I didn't have one. So there's things you do out of convenience that were kind of weird, but they happen. It took 5 years to get divorced, but it happened. And I remember the day when the judge said, there was yet another plea, another thing. All I'll say is when the judge finally said, we are awarding the divorce because this has been a 5-year frivolous waste of time, you get your custody, and it was all good. It was all worth it. A month later, I completed the bankruptcy papers. I don't know what you know about bankruptcy, but apparently I didn't do it right, because I declared bankruptcy, and I owed over $110,000 afterwards. I was trying to do the right thing. I'm not sure, but it wasn't one of those things where you pay it back. Not so good. I went back to school in 2001. I started at RIT, a technical school for engineers, and went back to Monroe Community College, which was the place you went to if you didn't get a good college. And I went to night school, and I bartended, and I went to day school. I just fitted in wherever I could while I was working full time. I eventually got my business degree. Kind of funny to get a business degree after you've been in business for all those years, but I thought that would be a good idea. And I realized I just didn't have it in me to go 4 or 5 more years to get the bachelor's degree, so I have an associate's. I do have that. Luckily, in August 2002, I met Jess in a bar, of all places, on her birthday. And it's been a great story ever since with us, and no one gets there alone. And if you don't have great support at home through all the highs and the lows that you might go through, it's tough. It's tough. You need that support at home, and we're fortunate that we have that. It's not all roses, but we get through it. I'd also tell you that I entered banking in 2003. One of my customers at the restaurant says, "Ryan, you should get in banking." Okay. He was a big cheese at Chase Bank. He ran 30-some branches in New York, so big cheese. So I figured, he says, "You're gonna need a bunch of suits." I go out and buy suits. I get there my first day, guess what my job was at the bank? Close. I was the guy at the front door. "Welcome to Chase Bank. Here's the teller line." So I got to do that. Then I got to be the teller. That was the hardest job I ever did. Absolutely the hardest job I ever did. The reason it was the hardest job is you think about when you're walking in as a bar owner and you're handing over all this money and you're trying to tell her, "Hurry up, hurry up." It's actually kind of complicated to put the money in there. It was pretty humbling because I was going home at night thinking, I can't do this job. And when you are at a place you think is kind of the top and now you're actually not at the top, so to speak, it's humbling. It just is. We got through that. I had to get into commercial banking. I got my spot on the platform very quickly. And I was ranked number 63 out of 64 people in that job the first quarter. The other guy was on medical leave. By the end of my first year, I was number 3. Rapid ascent. I got my raise. Did one of these. Couldn't believe it. 3% raise. The guy next to me was ranked number 62, got a 3% raise. I knew it was time to go. That's when I moved to Florida. Ended up with a job in mortgage. Guess who'd never done a mortgage before getting that role in Florida? I moved all the way to Florida for a job I'd never done before. My boss thought I'd been doing it for years. You know how that worked out? I was the worst guy the first quarter. 6 months later, I was top sales in an office of 35 people during a boom. It happens. You cause it to happen. We got married in 2005. And I paid off all that debt in April of 2008. Feels good, doesn't it? 20 days later, I'm in yet another car accident. I'm at a traffic light. I'm minding my own business. I look in the rearview mirror, and you've probably seen it. Somebody's on the phone and petting a dog. Apparently steering, doing one of these. Hit me from behind at 50 miles an hour. This accident put me out of work for 6 months. They actually took my driver's license away. It's because I had a brain injury, a permanent brain injury called traumatic brain injury that soldiers would normally, you think about in football players from concussions and things like that. So, that's something I had to kind of figure out. At the time, our home went from being worth about $300,000 to $150,000. Remember that era, right? So we couldn't sell the house. Really didn't want to go through foreclosure. Just went through bankruptcy. Didn't want to do that again. So we had some stuff to figure out. The banking job that I was doing, 6 figures, corner office, and all the trappings of corporate life. That's out the window. I was given a chance to resign because I legitimately couldn't remember. If you told me your name, I couldn't remember it. It's kind of hard to do alone if you can't remember the person's name and their date of birth and social and things like that. So we had some stuff to figure out. Safe to say in 2009, I was in major debt. The interesting thing about real estate is that it doesn't take a brain. Because I had a permanent brain injury before I ever started it, so we like to say it doesn't take a brain to be in real estate. What I can tell you is we got in July 4th, 2009. I'm going to talk about timing, the worst year in the history of real estate. Timing is everything. Talk about massive potential for growth. And we found that. Our first hire was on August 23rd, 2010. Abby's in here today. She's been with us 8 years, and we couldn't do it without her. Really lucky to have her with us. After about 3 years of real estate, I kind of burnt out trying to do it a one-man gang with one person helping me out. And I took a role in Melbourne. Nobody knew it at the time, but I actually lived in Melbourne for about a year or so running my business. Kind of kept it quiet. Secret's out now. after doing that for a while, I knew that I couldn't grow my real estate business unless I learned more about leadership and hiring and management. And a real estate office is really just a really big team. And I learned about scalability. So when I came back in 2014, we were going to run business differently. We're actually going to run it like a restaurant. You see, when it's one person doing all the work, if anything goes wrong or you have a sick day, where's your customer service go? What we learned in a restaurant was we could have one person and maybe a bartender, one or two people on the floor as a server, and about 6 or 8 people in the kitchen going crazy. But when it got to the table, it was always perfect. So what if we just applied that to real estate? So we built out an administrative division of 3 people. We built out a call center of 3 people, and we built out a marketing division of 3 people. We just only had 1 or 2 salespeople running it, but if everything was done perfectly along the way, all I had to do was presentations, which is what I was good at. And it was different than everybody else was doing, but it worked. And that's kind of what got us to where we are today. I can tell you that over time, you may have to add layers to your business. So the call center came in 2016, the title company came in 2016. We actually started as a team at Keller Williams Realty. We learned a lot there, great relationships, but we wanted our own brokerage. That came last year, and now we just opened property management. So in the cycle of business, as you gain the knowledge, you can truly accelerate and add in the proper layers. But no one gets there alone. So how do we get here? A mentor asked me to do a self-descriptive of yourself, keep it to a sentence, keep it kind of brief. And after a little bit of thought, I came up with that I'm a tenacious copycat, short on natural talent, but relentless in my pursuit of the few things that matter. And I just kind of put it in a Word document, kind of ugly, and stuck it above my desk and look at it every day. Because systems and models are what run businesses. And then people implement those systems and models. It's not the other way around. So if we have a good plan, and it's okay to copy a good idea, in my world, it should be okay. You know, short on natural talent, I was never in my business before I was in it. We have 11 people at Wyse Home Team Realty. Not a single person was ever in real estate before they joined us. Think about that. Relentless in my pursuit of the few things that matter. All things don't matter equally, and on a daily basis, you're given choices. And if you're doing it right, you're probably focusing on the most important things, the few things that matter, and you're setting everything else aside. And at the end of the day, if you've done the things that matter most, but you still have a pile of stuff left over, that's probably going to be okay as long as you take care of the few things that matter. We like to talk about failing forward. Business is messy. I know up front that first slide looked really cool. It's a mess. If you walked in and took a look at any of the things we do, it's always in flux. You probably feel some of that in your own businesses. The public thinks, man, it looks great. And you're like, okay. Failing forward. It's as simple as this. With a little bit of information, you can probably boil most major decisions down to 2 choices. There's this one and that one. We just have a theory about pick one. Pick this one. If it's right, you're a genius. If you're wrong, hurry up and do the other one. Drop it. Just go to the next thing. Kind of important. But taking action is the really big piece here. Doing nothing, being inactive, it's designed failure. You've got to take action. We believe that no experience is required because we believe that if you hire the right people and they're in culture, you can teach them the skills they need for the business. Innovate, be an early adopter. Some businesses I learned about the REO game. I was too late to that game. I never got into it because by the time I got it up and running and implemented it, the game would have been over. I mean, would you today try to build a search engine? Google's already there. It's not going away. It's a bad business to choose. Make good decisions about what you might select as your next business. Be an early adopter, adapt, innovate, make sure that you're implementing. Pivot when you need to. Your business will evolve over time if you're doing it right. It won't be static. Buddy Steve, we like to talk about the hockey stick. I love to talk about the hockey stick. Y'all know what a hockey stick looks like, right? Kind of flat. See, that's your business for the first several months or several years because you're learning, you're getting the talent, you're buying the equipment, you're getting everything right. And somewhere down the road, it just does this. And it keeps, if you're doing it right, it keeps going up. That's usually where the excitement and the profits and things come into the business. A business that earns profit too early, we like to think of bottle rockets, 4th of July. They shoot up really fast, they come back down. If you're not reinvesting in talent, in people, that business probably is going to have a short lifespan, or you're going to be supremely lucky. I think that every business has a shelf life, and there's times to get into a business, times to get out. When I was in sports cards, it was great until it wasn't. You know, once they went from 3 card companies to like 50, I knew there was no way to keep the inventory. The CD business was great until we started MP3s. You know, quit liquidating, get out. You know, if you're thinking for a minute that your business will last forever, I'm going to hold a seminar. We're going to hold it at Toys R Us, okay? Because it's located right between Blockbuster and Sears. All right, so what's next? I spend more of my time these days working on my business than at my business. And right now, growing leaders is my business. For the people that we build the business big enough so they can get what they want too. It would be selfish of me to say I've got enough and we earn enough, because there's other people in the business, they have big visions and big goals. And if you don't build it big enough for them too, they're going to be forced to go someplace else to build it on their own. So be unselfish in your business, and when you get what you want, realize that you got to allow your talented people to make it bigger so they can get what they want. Or you're starting over again. And once you exit your business and you're on the sidelines watching them grow, it's never the same when you go back to it. And you may not have the same burning desire to succeed that you did the first time around. So invest in your people. These days I do a lot of reading followed by implementation. If you read the book and go to the class and do not implement, you may as well have not gone to the class. I can show you deaths of people that are filled with these great things sitting in the top left drawer that never came out, never got implemented. So think about that. We're always looking for talented, growth-minded individuals to join our organization. We always look for team players, and culture is the most important thing. Matter of fact, it's first, second, and third. We run a family-oriented business. We tell the story that if we had a big dinner, 15 people, my mom was here, my grandma was here, and somebody had to sit between them, it wouldn't matter which of the people in our world sat between my mom and my grandma. It's going to be okay, because we all get along, we all have the same core values, the same beliefs. Nobody would feel out of place. And I tell us every time we talk to somebody in a screening interview, because if they get at least a little bit twitchy about being around my family, I know they're not going to be a good fit for us. Because we pull for each other. We work hard together. We go through thick and thin together, just like a family. And you need that, at least in our world. It's one of our core values. It's the most important one to us. The last thing I'll say is a business will typically sit on a whiteboard until the who arrives. The property management company's been sitting on the whiteboard for 2 years. I had everything I needed to do it in systems and models. What I didn't have was the right person. That right person showed up, and now I can implement that business. I'm excited to see which one of my whiteboards I'm going to get to implement in 2019 when that who shows up. So that's most of what I wanted to say. At the end of the day, you have to know what you're working for. What's your big why? Most people around me know what my big why is. So thanks, guys.
All right, thank you, Ron. One more round of applause, please, for Ron. Awesome presentation. Okay, so now is the Q&A portion of the meeting. If you do have a question, please raise your hand and tell us who you are, what you do, real fast, and then question.
Rick with Mobile Cove, I apologize if you said this, I had to step out for a second, but when you did the spot with Barbara Corcoran, how expensive was that, and did you feel a significant bump from that?
So it cost me a plane ticket, a hotel room, and then the production fees. And there was a number of agents that I did it with across the country, so we divided those. So we went with Strand up in New York City. So it was a big bill, but I would say that over time we got it back. The impact was not that day, because like most marketing, it takes time for it to evolve. I mean, it's one thing to have the commercial, but then you've got to put it on TV. You've got to pay for that. You've got to pay for other places to put it. You've got to be smart on social media to actually get the word out there. You know, if you have a TV commercial that nobody sees, there's no value to it. I could probably do a whole hour workshop on what it was like to actually do that, but the short story is, I didn't apply for it. I got found. So when you're getting those phone calls that come into your office and they sound like they're prank phone calls or telemarketers, legitimately somebody's calling me up. One of Barbara's people, just testing on our business and trying to get, talk to us about selling houses, and almost to the point of annoyance. What I didn't realize is they were vetting us. And because of the way we ran our business, she wanted to extend her business through Shark Tank and her endorsements, and she wanted a realtor in the area, that would be a good vehicle to help her get her name out there as well. Suffice it to say, the true cost is doing the right things every day, because Barbara will fire you like in a minute, a New York minute, if you're not doing the right thing, so, thank you.
Anyone else?
Hey, Ron, thank you for that great presentation.
Thank you.
And you're looking for talent. What do you use to evaluate the people to put on your team?
There's a form called the Wyse form. We initially on a screening interview talk to people about their work experience, education, interpersonal, their growth, and their habits. And the fact is, I've gotten really good at screening people, and in a casual conversation, even in here, tell me about your work thing. Okay, great. You go to school for that? What do you like to do when you're not working? What are you doing to better yourself? And hey, when you start work in the morning, what time you start to work? How do you get it done? So what we look for is people that give positive answers to those questions. And if that's the case, then we'll go through, and Alex isn't here today, but we'll have them do a behavioral profile, and to learn more about them and their DISC profile to see where they might be a good fit. We actually don't define a role for a person until we've gotten to know them, and we'll spend 3 or 4 interviews getting to know them, 10, 12 hours. We may not even make a hire after those 10 or 12 hours. We put a lot of time up front, mostly just on their habits and their core values. If they fit all of those things, we typically create a role. So that's what we're looking for.
Hey, Ron, over here. Sean Avantessa, the Arc of Volusia. I have one comment and a question. Where's your wife? Will you drive from this day forward? No, but seriously, Ron, can you share any future whiteboard visions? Anything that you care to talk about?
What I believe in this market, in this environment, subscription-based businesses are important, and I would want to invest in technology and businesses that would earn the right for people to continue to use you. So property management certainly fits that category. They'll select you, and as long as you do the right thing, they probably won't leave you. I mean, iTunes, Sam's Clubs work along that line. I would say they would be interrelated to the business that we currently have. Getting outside, the ice cream shop is my example, getting outside of what you know. I don't know a damn thing about ice cream. I just thought it was a good idea because people liked ice cream and I had a spot to fill. That wasn't so smart. The business, you don't want to have them feed off of each other and take from one fleet. And what happened there was, there's almost only so much disposable income in our area. And by putting one more store in, I was actually harming my other businesses because the collective wallet was only so big where I was. So we would make sure that they enhance each other but not cannibalize each other.
Yes, morning, thank you, Ron. I'm Gertie Hoffman, independent certified financial planner and life insurance and investments broker. Great presentation. You were talking about reading books and implementing those, as well as maybe follow. I wonder if you could maybe share some of those and/or somebody that you had mentored from, and what you got from that experience. Thank you.
Books are awesome. I would tell you that Real Estate, the Millionaire Real Estate book was a great book for that particular business. There was a book called The One Thing, which was a very good book. 4 Disciplines of Execution is not an easy read, it's a thick read. We base the principles of, they call it 4DX in all of our businesses. I read the book 3 or 4 times. I attempted 3 or 4 times to implement that. It wasn't until I took a training to become certified in Houston a few years back that I actually implemented it well. I actually just finished helping a business in Orlando over the last month implement their business. We've been out there holding meetings Tuesdays for 4 weeks in a row. Those are pretty important. Scaling Up is kind of a cool book. It talks about how to scale your business. Good to Great. I see the book around here. The E-Myth is very good. I think any book that is good for you, books show up at the right time, is what I want to say. So depending on where you are in your business, what type of business you want, there's other great books out there that will absolutely help you. And I think the book arrives, like they say, the book arrives when the student is ready, the teacher arrives when the student is ready. The books arrive. It's as easy as going to Amazon, click, and it shows up on your doorstep. The key is to always be learning something, but then implement as well. The moment we stop learning, you're telling yourself that you know enough. And the fact is, most people don't know what they don't know. And they'll just stop learning. And I think that's a huge mistake. So there's books everywhere. I've got a stack, always a running stack.
Sean Gepper with the Iden Insurance Agency, and I just want to share a few things. I've known Ron since, I would say maybe 2002, and he was my mortgage agent. He did a fine job. He was amazing. He was also the man that sold the house when I had to do a short sale. And he hasn't shared with you his numbers success. And I've been watching Ron since 2002 develop as one of the absolute top producers in this area. And he's been a mentor to me and a friend, and we shared office space when I owned a real estate company. And he's a grinder, and I appreciate you sharing, your past and the challenges, because we all have them. And I want to say that this guy's been a mentor to me. I spent many times driving down 95 on the phone with Ron, going, "Hey man, I need a little lift." And Ron, share with the group how many units you sold last year.
So we sold, I know in the last 2 years, I remember the marketing team tells us it's 300 sales in the last 2 years. So we stick with that one. I know that this will be the 5th year in a row we've sold more than 100 homes.
Okay, we have time for one, maybe two more questions.
Hey, Michelle James, Space Coast Credit Union. I just want to compliment you for being transparent, kind of like what he said, with sharing that transparency of the downtimes and the hard times as being a business owner. When I do my coaching, and I do a lot of startups, I say, realize that you don't ever clock out, but with a day-to-day business, you are going to have a lot of ups and downs, and that can impact your personal life as well tremendously. So thanks for being transparent with that, because a lot of business owners are very face value, but when they go home, there's those struggles and challenges that you have to deal with as well. So thank you for sharing that. It is sometimes an eye-opener for business owners, because they think they're going to go in with a great idea and not realizing how much it may impact their personal lives as well. So thanks.
Great comment. I have a quick question. Ron, so what are you guys doing to adapt to the changing buyers, millennials and younger buyers and sellers? There's a trend in a certain direction, or things are definitely changing with that group of buyers. What are you guys doing to kind of adapt to those people?
We implement a few different things. The first thing is technology. And we have learned that one of the things we do is we make a lot of phone calls, but not everybody wants a phone call anymore. Matter of fact, a text sometimes is a good way to reach somebody. And so old school thinking is measuring calls and contacts, but you have to allow that text message as a better way. If you're in my age bracket, maybe a Facebook message is a cool thing with it, but a Snapchat might be better for a millennial. There's different ways to communicate. Until you know who your customer is and how they want to communicate, you're probably going to lose opportunities and fail people, not because what you deliver isn't solid and good. You're just not communicating the way they want to communicate with. So we have some really smart people in our marketing division and our lead generation division that are figuring out ways to communicate with people in the way they want to communicate with. Once we establish that relationship, everything else is the same. We're going to show them some houses, we're going to present the value, and if one looks really good to them, they have the money, we'll help them buy it.
Awesome. Okay. Let's see. I think we're closing in on the end of the meeting. So any more questions for Ron? Okay, one more round of applause, please.